I didn't see the gun at first. I heard it. That metallic click that every person instinctively knows means danger. I was wiping down table 4 at the Sterling Café when the sound cut through the morning quiet like a knife. It was 6:47 a.m. 3 customers, the same burnt coffee smell, the same flickering fluorescent light above the register that nobody ever bothered to fix. Then I heard the voice. "Nobody fucking move." I turned around slowly. The kid couldn't have been more than 19. Ski mask, shaking hands. A pistol that wobbled in the air like he'd never held one before. Behind me, Carlos dropped a spatula. The trucker at the counter threw his hands up. Mrs. Chen by the window gasped and clutched her purse. And me? I just stood there. "Register!" The kid screamed. Now I set down my tray. Started walking toward him. Not fast, not slow, just walking. "Are you deaf?" The fucking register. I stopped about 3 feet away from him. Close enough to see his eyes through the mask wide, terrified, desperate. This wasn't a hardened criminal. This was someone's scared kid who'd made a terrible choice. "The register has maybe $80, I said. My voice came out flat. Factual, like I was reading him the specials. "The safe's on a timer, won't open until 9. I tilted my head slightly. "You can shoot me if you want. Won't change the timer. Won't make money appear." The gun wavered. I watched his trigger finger. Watched the way his whole body was coiled like a spring ready to snap. "You picked the wrong place," I said quietly, "and the wrong morning." Something in my voice, I don't know what, maybe just the complete absence of fear, broke through his panic. The gun lowered. Then he was backing away, stumbling over his own feet. "This isn't over?" "Yes," I said. "It is." He ran. The door chimed. Silence. Carlos started breathing again. The trucker was already on his phone, probably calling 911. Mrs. Chen looked like she might cry. I picked up my tray and went back to wiping down table 4. What I didn't know was that someone had filmed the whole thing, and I definitely didn't know that the man sitting in the corner booth, the one who hadn't touched his coffee in 40 minutes, was about to turn my entire life upside down. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, this gets way more intense. By that evening, my face was everywhere. Ice cold waitress talks down armed robber. 4.2 million views. Comment sections full of people calling me everything from a hero to a psychopath. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with interview requests, news outlets, random people wanting to know my secret. I deleted them all, turned off my phone, went to bed. The next morning, my manager met me at the door. "Lucia, we need to talk." Already knew. You don't work in places like the Sterling for 5 years without learning to read people. "I'm fired." He had the decency to look uncomfortable. The attention corporate's worried about scrutiny. You understand, right? I understood perfectly. The Sterling wasn't just a diner. It was a front for half a dozen things that couldn't survive a spotlight. My viral video had turned that spotlight into a floodlight. I untied my apron, handed it over. "It's fine." It wasn't fine. I had Daniel's tuition due in 3 weeks, rent in 2. But anger was a luxury I'd stopped affording myself a long time ago. You survive by adapting, not by feeling. I walked home in the rain and started calculating how long my savings would. 2 days later, someone knocked on my apartment door at 9 p.m. I checked the peephole. A man in an expensive coat, dark hair, maybe 30. Something about his face felt familiar in a way that scraped at the edges of my memory. I opened the door halfway. "Miss Reyes," he said.
Accent Russian, maybe.
"My name's Alexei Volkov." I saw what happened at the Sterling Café. Daniel appeared at my shoulder. 17 and protective in that way teenage brothers are when they've watched you survive too much. I touched his arm, Stay back, and I said, I have a proposition. I own a restaurant called Vesper. I need someone with your particular skill set. My skill set, you don't panic, you assess, you handle pressure. He paused. I'm offering you a position, $3,200 per week. Full benefits, staff meals. The number hit me like cold water. That was more than I made in a month at Sterling. Why? I asked. Because quality is rare. Try again. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Maybe, because I believe you're wasted serving coffee to truckers, and you want to rescue me. No. His voice was firm. I want to hire you. There's a difference. I studied him. There was something in his expression, something haunted and sincere that I couldn't quite name. I'll think about it, I said. I'll need an answer by. You'll get it when I'm ready. I closed the door. Daniel stared at me. Who the hell was that? I don't know, I said. But that wasn't quite true. I knew him from somewhere. Somewhere. That mattered. 3 days later, I walked into Vesper. Daniel needed tuition. I needed stability. Whatever weird feeling I had about Alexei Volkov could be compartmentalized. I'd compartmentalized worse. The restaurant was beautiful. Everything Sterling wasn't elegant, quiet. The kind of place where a single meal costs more than I used to make in a day. Alexei met me at the entrance. Ms. Reyes. I'll take the job, I said. But let's be clear, this is professional. I work, you pay me. That's all this is. Relief flashed across his face. He tried to hide it. Failed. Understood, he said. And if I find out there's another reason you hired me, there isn't. A liar. But I let it slide. Within a week, I'd proven myself. Memorized the wine list. Handled difficult customers with the same calm I'd shown that gunman. I made myself indispensable. The staff whispered about me. Who was I? Where had Alexei found me? Why did the boss watch me like I might disappear? Because he did watch me. I felt his eyes from the bar, from his office window, from the kitchen doorway. In a way that felt like he was making sure I was real. Small things started happening. Week 2, I corrected him in front of the head waiter about a seating error. He'd put a VIP near the kitchen, noisy, undignified. I'd just moved the reservation without asking permission. The staff held their breath. You don't contradict the boss. Alexia had smiled. You're right. Week 3, he left tea on my break table. Jasmine green. Prepared exactly how I liked it. I'd stared at that cup for a full minute before I said, thank you. Week 4, he noticed the bruise. Before you click away, make sure you like this video. This next part changes everything. It was fading yellowish green, almost gone. On my wrist from Marcus. From the last time he'd grabbed me before I'd finally left him 6 months ago. I thought I'd hidden it well enough. The restaurant had just closed. I was counting tips in the break room when Alexei appeared in the doorway. Who hurt you? My hand stilled. That's not your business. If someone is threatening you, I said, it's not your business. I looked up at him, used that voice, the flat one, the one that had stopped a robbery. I handled my own problems. His jaw tightened. If he comes here, then I'll deal with it. I stood up. Like I deal with everything. I don't need protection, Mr. Volkov. I don't need saving. I need you to respect the boundaries I've set. For a moment, I thought he might push back. But he nodded slowly. Understood. He left. But something had shifted between us. A week later, it happened on a Tuesday night. After closing, Alexei poured 2 cups of coffee and set one in front of me where I was reviewing receipts. I looked up, startled. He sat down across from me, didn't say anything, just drank his coffee. Stared at my cup. He'd made it exactly right. Cream. No sugar. The way I always took it. Minutes passed in silence. He poured me a refill. I watched his hands. Something stirred in my memory. Third refill. My fingers tightened around the mug. Have we met before? The question hung between us, like smoke. His pause was too long. I don't think so. You're lying? Ms. Reyes Lucia. My voice dropped. If we're going to lie to each other, at least use my name. He looked at me then, really looked. I saw something in his eyes that made my breath catch. Lucia, he said carefully. Some debts can't be repaid. And suddenly I remembered. 7 years ago, a different diner. The Crossroads. I'd been 19 working the graveyard shift, barely surviving my own demons. A man had been sitting alone at 3 a.m., young, maybe 22, but his eyes had been old. Hollow. The kind of hollow that comes right before someone makes a permanent decision. I'd sat down across from him without asking. Didn't say much, just stayed there, a quiet presence in his darkness. Finally, I'd said, whatever you're thinking about doing. It can wait until morning. We'd sat until dawn. I'd refilled his coffee 3 times. When he'd left, he'd been crying. But he'd been alive. Oh my God, I whispered. That was you. Alexei's expression confirmed it. You were going to kill yourself. Yes, and I stopped you. You saved me, his voice cracked. You saved my life, Lucia. My mind was racing. Why didn't you tell me? When you showed up at my apartment, when you hired me, why didn't you say anything? 'Cause I thought you'd see it as a debt? I didn't want you to think I hired you out of obligation. I didn't want that between us. So you lied instead. I didn't lie. I just I'd tell you the whole truth. I stood up, paced. My heart was pounding. This is insane. You've built this whole thing, this job. This opportunity on a night 7 years ago, when I was just trying to... I stopped. I was just trying to save myself by saving someone else. What? I turned to face him. Might as well tell the truth now. That night, I'd been planning the same thing you were. Earlier that evening, I had pills in my pocket. A plan. But then my shift started and you walked in, and I saw you and I thought if I could pull you back from the edge, maybe I could pull myself back too. Alexia stood up. Lucia, we saved each other, I said. That night, we saved each other, and neither of us even knew it. The silence that followed was deafening. Comment below if you've ever had a moment that changed your entire life. Because that's what this was for both of them. Things shifted after that. Alexei and I started having actual conversations, not about the past, we'd said enough about that, but about smaller things, books, music, why the coffee at Vesper was better than anywhere else. He told me about growing up in his father's shadow. I told him about raising Daniel after our parents died in a car accident when I was 20. We didn't talk about Marcus. We didn't talk about the violence in Alexei's world. Some doors stayed closed. For 3 weeks, it was almost normal. Then Marcus showed up. I was actually home early for once. Daniel was doing homework. Was making dinner. Ordinary. Safe. The knock on the door was aggressive. Loud. Wrong. I looked through the peephole. My blood went cold. Marcus drunk. Angry, that look on his face that I'd learned to fear during the 2 years we'd been together. The look that meant he'd come to take something from me. Don't open it, Daniel said behind me. Go to your room. Lucia now. He went. Smart kid. He knew when to listen. I opened the door, didn't invite Marcus in, just stood there, blocking the entrance. You think you're too good for me now? His words slurred. I see you working at that fancy place, Vesper. Acting like you're something special. You need to leave, Marcus. I'll leave when I'm ready. He stepped closer. Too close. I could. Smell the whiskey. You think you can just walk away. I think you can just disappear. I didn't disappear. I left. There's a difference. His hand shot out, grabbed my wrist. The same wrist he'd grabbed 6 months ago. The same wrist that had finally made me understand that staying would kill me. Let go? Or what? You're gonna call your fancy boss? Think he scares me? Behind him, I saw headlights, a car pulling up fast. Someone getting out. Alexei. How did Hedonil? Daniel must have called him. Let her go. Alexei's voice was quiet. Dangerous. The kind of quiet that meant violence was one word away. Marcus turned, laughed. This your knight in shining armor. Lucia, I yanked my wrist free, stepped between them. Both of you stop. Lucia. Alexia started. No. I looked at Marcus. Use that voice. The one I'd used on the gunman, the one I'd used on Alexei when he'd pushed too far. You need to hear this, Marcus. I am not the person you remember. That woman doesn't exist anymore. Bullshit. You're still the same scared little I'm not. I stepped closer to him, watched him instinctively step back. Good. The woman standing here survived you. She survived losing everything. She rebuilt herself from nothing. And if you come back here, if you ever touch me or my brother again, we'll destroy you. Do you understand me? You can't. I can. I will. Because I'm not afraid of you anymore, Marcus. I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Something broke in his expression. Maybe he finally saw it. The change. The steel that had replaced the softness he'd once been able to manipulate. He backed away. Down the hallway. Down the stairs. Gone. I turned to Alexei. My hands were shaking. Now, adrenaline catching up. I didn't need you here, I said. I know. His voice was gentle. But Daniel did. That broke something in me. I nodded. Stepped aside. Come in. We sat at my kitchen table. Daniel had gone to his room, reassured. Coffee steamed between us. Again, always coffee with us. The Crossroads Diner, I said finally. 7 years ago, you were going to kill yourself. Yes, your father had just died. He looked surprised. How did you? I looked you up. After you hired me, Dmitry Volkov. I read about his funeral, about his empire, about his son who inherited. Everything. I met his eyes. You were drowning in his legacy. I still am, he admitted. Every day I wake up and try to be someone other than my father's son, and most days I fail. You didn't fail that morning because of you. And you didn't let me fail today. We sat in silence. Two broken people who'd somehow pulled each other back from the edge twice now, once in darkness, once in broad daylight. I'm not ready, I said finally. For whatever this is becoming, for anything beyond what we have right now. I know. I've spent years building walls, Alexei, walls that keep me safe. I've spent years hiding behind mine. I reached across the table, took his hand. He flinched, slightly surprised by the contact. Maybe someday, I said. Maybe someday I'll be ready to take those walls down, but not today. I can wait. He squeezed my hand gently. That's what you taught me. No matter how dark it gets, morning always comes. My eyes burned. When was the last time someone had been patient with me? When was the last time someone had seen my brokenness and not tried to fix it, just accepted it? Yeah, I whispered. It does. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. 3 weeks later, I found Alexei on Vesper's rooftop terrace at dawn. He had 2 coffee cups. I took one, stood beside him at the railing. The city was waking up below us, indifferent to our small moment of peace. Indifferent to the fact that 2 people who'd been seconds away from ending everything were now standing together watching the sunrise. You come up here a lot, I said. To remember. Remember what? That I chose morning. That someone gave me the gift of choosing. I understood without needing more explanation. Daniel got accepted to college, I told him. Full scholarship. Alexia smiled. That's wonderful. He wants to study psychology. Says he wants to help people the way someone once helped his sister. Smart kid. The smartest. I paused. Thank you. The job, for the patience, for not trying to save me. You don't need saving. No, I agreed. But I needed someone who understood that. We stood in comfortable silence. The sun climbed higher. I thought about that night 7 years ago, about the pills in my pocket that I'd thrown away after Alexei left, about the gun in his coat that he'd told me he'd dismantled that same morning. We'd saved each other without meaning to, without knowing, just by being present in each other's darkness. "I'm not ready," I said again, "but I'm getting there. Take your time." His voice was soft. "I've waited 7 years. I can wait longer." I looked at him then. Really looked. Saw the man who'd been so broken that death seemed like mercy. Saw the man who'd built an empire on the foundation of a single act of kindness. Saw someone who understood scars because he wore them too. "Morning always comes." I repeated his words back to him. "Yes," he smiled. "It does." And standing there with the sun painting the sky gold, I believed it.
Out.
For the first time in years, I believed that the darkness didn't last forever.
Out.
Survival could become living. That two broken people could find each other twice, and maybe, just maybe, that meant something. I didn't know what came next. Neither of us did. But for the first time in a long time, I wanted to find out. The sun rose. The city woke. And we stood together to survivors who'd chosen mourning, again and again. And again. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been in that dark place, if you've ever been the voice that pulled someone back, or the person who got pulled back, leave a comment. Share your story. Hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this, because these stories matter. Your story matters. And sometimes, the only thing standing between darkness and dawn is one person choosing to stay. Thank you for watching. Jews Morning.